Hello and welcome to the YouTube channel. I'm Sap Alien. Since NHL 23 released, I have released 3 videos. The basics of NHL 23, where I walk you through the basics of NHL 23. Simple things such as quick tips to score, play defense, defend, how to do dekes, passing. I've also put out a video called How to Score in NHL 23, where I talk about plays for players of many different skill levels, from beginner all the way to advanced. And I've also done a video called How to Play Defense in NHL 23, where I walk you through my thought process when I play defense, me being a top 8 North American GWC player for the year 2022. This video is going to be a bit more laid back. There's not going to be as many camera cuts, there's not going to be as many flashy graphics. Today we're talking about Xfactors, and you can't rank Xfactors without a tier list. Yes, we're going to rank these via tier list. You might be looking down at the bottom and it says NHL 22 ESHL Xfactors tier list, which is done by Corrosive Jake. So to Jake, thank you very much for making this. However, it does not have all the Xfactors. And when I check my my computer over to the right of the tier maker, I have 9 other abilities I'm going to rank. Actually, it might be 10. I might rank... No, I'm going to rank 9 other ones that aren't on this list, but I'm just going to edit them in. The only one that's not going to have a Xfactor symbol is going to be Lightwork, because I can't find a high quality resolution picture for that. But without further ado, we're going to rank these, and before I get into the first one, I'm ranking these via the meta that we've seen in NHL 23. And for some of them where it's like there's not a lot of players or easily accessible players with the gold version of the ability, I'm just going to use NHL 22 for reference and then try on the fly to think, would that work in the 23 meta? So I might be doing a lot of thinking out loud, but without further ado, let's get into this. First one we see is All Alone. All Alone, oh, well, I guess I should talk about the categories first. We got S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier. We have a tier called Fun, but it doesn't fit the meta, and Y, the Y category. Cost could be too high, the usage could be too specific, or just so rare that it doesn't make sense to use, or it could just be that it's bad. That's really it. And for this one, the first one, All Alone, as you see me drag it around here, this one's going to go into the Fun, but doesn't fit the meta. All Alone, it gives you increased shot accuracy on breakaways. And it only costs 1 AP for the silver and 2 AP for the gold ability. However, All Alone just... when you're playing, unless you're doing a lot of straight lining and you're in low division gameplay, you're not going to get many breakaways. Any high scoring chance you're going to get off the rush is usually going to be a 3-on-2, 3-on-1, 2-on-1. You'll get the occasional breakaway, but the players that have this, such as Barkov had it last year, and then they switched it and gave him Yoink, which is down at the bottom. It wasn't. No one wanted to use it because it's, again, too specific. Yes, is it fun? Yes, because you can do trick dekes, and it will help with those as well. And it's a sure thing to score on a breakaway. But in NHL 23, breakaways are already easy. You just do a deep forehand, curl it to your backhand and roof it. So it's fun, but it doesn't fit the meta. Next one, Beauty Backhand. Beauty Backhand is getting an A, and there's a reason why. So for those who don't know, Beauty Backhand, it basically turns your backhand into your forehand. You basically have 2 forehand shots. It's like taking wrist shots on your backhand. Lots of power, lots of accuracy. These are beautiful for cut plays. If any of you guys watch the NHL GWC after the draft portion, you would see that Uninstall had Sidney Crosby on his team, and he was able to hit these cut plays where it would be 2 passes, and instead of him having to get the puck back onto his forehand to get an accurate shot, he could just quickly release a backhand that was as accurate and as powerful as a backhand shot. And it worked. He scored many goals with Crosby. There's a goal line shot that you can do by shooting the puck behind the goal line and banking it off the goalie's head and in. If you want to know how to do that, you just skate down the wing. Imagine it's a 2-on-1 and you and your winger, or you and the other player, are skating down the wing. just wait until you cross the red line and then aim up and shoot it on your backhand with beauty backhand, and you might be able to bank it off the goalie and in. So beauty backhand definitely gets an A. This one is bounced, I think, or bounced up or something. Why? It helps prevent injuries, and in the most competitive of game modes, you know, usually there's no injuries to begin with, at least in 1v1. Reminder, this is for Hockey Ultimate Team. It costs 1 for the silver ability. A player can only get injured once in a game when it's active, but there's other 1-point abilities that are worth it, or at the very least are more fun. This isn't really fun. It's a passive ability. You don't really notice it. It goes in the Y category. Ice Pack also is going to go in the Y category. Like, I understand there's players like Chris Russell, Chris Tanev, a whole bunch of Chris's, who just block shots. But the thing about Ice Pack is what it does is it gives you new animations to block shots, and you won't get those animations where your guy like sells an injury for like 20 seconds after taking a shot to the shins. But again, it's another one of these 1-point abilities where it's like most people aren't using LB to block shots anyway. They're usually, if they are, they're usually going LB RB and they're laying down, which isn't usually meant to block a shot, it's meant to block a pass. Or they're just skating and reaching for poke, and anytime they block it, it's because it just happened to hit the player. So I'm going to put this in the Y category. I don't really see a meta purpose for it. Next up, we have In Reverse. For those of you who don't know, In Reverse gives you exceptional speed when backskating, which makes sense. It's called In Reverse. It implies that you're reverse skating. I'm going to give this a B, and the reason is because it's a passive ability, and when I say passive ability, I mean it's always active. So if you're backskating with the puck, it's active. If you're backskating without the puck, it's working. It's active. I have silver In Reverse on 83 Brent Burns, primetime Brent Burns, and it really helps. It helps him not get burnt to the outside by players with wheels and stuff. I can take an extra step on my while backskating without worrying about being burned. It gives me a little extra time to decide whether or not I want to backskate while defending off the rush, or if I want to turn around and try another way of defending. I actually think it's very valuable on at least one defenseman, especially if you have trouble defending the rush. So I'm gonna put in B, but it's definitely not high B category. As we add more, or as we go through these, this will definitely get dropped down the B category. So for example, as I switch the Y category, I would say that Ice Pack is better than Bounced, right? So for example, if I put Spinorama in A category and I do this, I'm saying that Spinorama is better than Beauty Backhand. It's not, trust me. Next up, we got Spinorama, what I just made a joke of. And this one, I think it's fun, but it doesn't fit the meta. Spinoramas are actually very useful. You could be standing still, it could be off the rush, it could be during a cycle. It's a good way of getting around an opponent without actually using the LT spins, because the LT spins can be difficult for some people, like turning speeds and stuff and shielding bumps. But a Spinorama, players will just slip off you if they're, if you're holding down the right stick and you're just aimlessly charging at people. If you use a Spinorama, they'll get around. However, Spinorama doesn't help your Spinorama success rate. What it does is it gives you a better shot and a better pass coming out of a Spinorama. And there's not many times where I'm doing a Spinorama directly into a pass. I used to do it a lot when, when I wasn't as advanced of a player. I know a lot of players like to blast down the wing, do a Spinorama, and then pass into the slot. I feel like that's one of the first moves you do when you start recognizing things like cut plays, because usually you'll do a Spinorama, pass it across to a guy who cuts and shoots it back the other way instead of just a one-timer. So that's, for that reason, I think it's fun. If you want to go around spinning and, doing backhand shots, top shelf, coming out of the spin, it could be fun, but it just doesn't really fit the meta. So I'm actually going to put it ahead of All Alone in the fun but doesn't fit the meta category. But again, it's not worthy of being ranked. If I had to take it out of this category, it would be a D. Next is It's Tricky. So It's Tricky and Skilled Up are different. Skilled Up are just for lacrosse moves. It's Tricky is for every other skill move except the lacrosse moves. So last year people were trying to use It's Tricky to get to do lacrosse moves. It just wasn't working. It's cheap. It's 1 AP. At one point it was like 4 AP last year. I know it's 1 AP for silver, 2 AP for gold. This is an ability that, like, this is one of the 1-point abilities. That's what I call them. I don't believe there's any 1 point or 1 AP gold abilities, but there's a lot of 1-point silver abilities. This is one of the ones where I'm like, okay, well, if I have 1 point and I can't find a way to make the points work, I need to have certain abilities and it's always leaving me with 1 AP, I will use It's Tricky. I think it's a C tier ability, and you're only using it usually out of desperation. You know, if you want to do a Datsuk, or if you're going between the legs on a, I don't know, if you're back skating into the slot, it can work, or if you're doing a Datsuk flip. But again, it's too niche. It can fit the meta because some of the trick shots, like the Datsuk shot, not the flip, but the actual shot itself, can be effective, especially if you aim at low glove, in my opinion. And between the legs works all the time. So it does have a meta to it because you're attempting to deke someone out. But it's a C. It's a C to me. It's not so useless that it's a D, and we'll come up on a few of those, I think, as I'm looking. But yeah, I think C is perfect for it. Next, we got Snipe. Snipe is gonna go in the B category, and it's gonna go below in reverse because there's there's 2 abilities in particular that do it better than, or 3 abilities that do it better than Snipe. And so Snipe is basically increased power and accuracy on settled pucks. So you actually have to use the right stick and hold it out on your forehand for a little bit. I want to say it's about 3/4 of a second you have to hold it on your forehand and rip it before it activates Snipe. So if for those of you who are counting frames, it's 45 frames because it's a 60 frame game. But my issue is that abilities such as Close Quarters, Heat Seeker, and Make It Snappy, all move Make It Snappy back here, all do their job better than Snipe. Snipe basically is like, okay, it's hard for me to walk through it, but I feel like in tight, Close Quarters is better than Snipe. Far away, Heat Seeker is better than Snipe. If you need to do a snapshot, Snipe won't even activate, but Make It Snappy is going to work too. In my opinion, Snipe is for those who don't necessarily have a specific way that they play. If you are just someone who takes shots from anywhere, you know, you're taking wrist shots from in close and far away with the same player, Snipe might be useful. It's not going to boost your far shots as much as Heat Seeker. It's not going to boost your close shots as much as Close Quarters. But I think that's kind of the point. It's supposed to be more versatile, but less effective, if that makes sense. So if you're looking for versatility, Snipe is for you. If you're looking for a specific shot to, you know, to become OP for you, Snipe is not the ability. Next is Shrug It Off. I believe Shrug It Off, basically, it helps increase your strength. For example, like, well, strength and your durability stats. None of these abilities actually touch your stats. So it's not like, you know, for example, Elite Edges boost your agility by +8. That's not a thing. We've had confirmation that they're not a thing. They're completely separate from normal rating progression. It basically, you know, if you have 84 agility with Elite Edges, you're gonna seem more agile than someone who has 99 agility with no Elite Edges. It's just how it's gonna be. But with Shrug It Off, it basically, I'm gonna put this in the Y category. I understand why it's there. You know, players who get trucked, like absolutely destroyed, and just immediately get up. Like those are strong players. Those are, you know, guys with a lot of heart and soul. But in a video game, when I hit someone hard, I don't want them to get up right away because I laid a good body check. And when someone hits me hard, I'm not really thinking about the player who's down. Is there 1 or 2 instances per month where I could say, oh, if my guy had gotten up from the ice faster, I could have defended that 2-on-1. Yeah, or if, you know, it would have become a 2-on-2. Yeah, that happens, but it doesn't happen enough to where it makes sense to add that ability to one of your players. If anything, add it to a defenseman or a center. I just don't think it's worth it at all. So it's going to go in the Y category. It is going to go above bounce, though. Next up, we're going to get into the actual the ones with logos. I assume these ones that are just white PNGs got added later on into NHL 22. But we're going to start with Ankle Breaker here. And Ankle Breaker is going to go in high B. High B. So Ankle Breaker basically allows you to keep your top speed when stick handling with the right stick. And this is awesome because in NHL 23, when you lunge with a poke check on defense, you lose speed, right? You lose speed and you can't spam pokes. But with Ankle Breaker, so when you have Ankle Breaker, you can hold it on your forehand, try and bait a poke, and because you're maintaining top speed, you can just cut around a guy really quick using your right stick, get around, maybe get a goal line shot off, be able to cut around the slowed down defenseman and shoot it on your backhand. If you're really good at baiting pokes, Ankle Breaker is going to be for you. And a lot of defenders who will just spam poke are going to get beat by Ankle Breaker because you're just going to be spamming the right stick back and forth while maintaining top speed. That's very scary. It's going to get high B category for me, and I think it's right on the cusp of A, but this might end up being the best B tier ability at the end of the video. I'm going to revise it at the end. I'm going to walk through it, try and, you know, talk myself into changing things, and you guys are going to hear that. But for now, we're going to keep it at high B. Next up is Back At Ya. Back At Ya. You would think it would go in fun, but it doesn't fit the meta. But it's going to go in C. And the reason is that it's not going to go in D because I think there's a use for it. It's basically a way you can counter truculence with it if your player's big enough. And Back At You is one of these abilities where it actually matters the size of the player you're using it on. But you can use it to counter certain defensive meta plays, whether it's like hitting someone along the boards after putting them into a bottleneck position where you're angling them to the boards and stuff. But it's actually a really fun ability to use as well, which is why it's like high C for me. Not only does it help protect against people who just run around for hits, it destroys players. Like, it's like you throwing a hit. It's reverse hits. It's not you being able to just tank a hit. That's what Unstoppable Force is. It's really fun to use. You're blasting down the wing. I have Marcel Dion. He has silver Back At Ya. There's been multiple times where people, I wouldn't say this happens all that much with defensemen who are 6'3" or taller, because Dion is very small. But if a Cale Makar comes to hit me, or a Bowen Byram comes to hit me, and I hold on to A while gliding, because that's how you activate the ability, I will truck them over, maintain possession, and I get a little mini 2-on-1 out of it sometimes, and I score. So it's actually very fun, and in some situations can be very useful. Next is Big Rig. Big Rig is basically Unstoppable Force, but you have to hold A. And with the new glitch wraps that we found, it might actually be useful because you're never going to be able to hit someone off the puck if they have Big Rig. I'm going to put in B. I still think Unstoppable Force is better, and you're going to see that it's probably going to be in A. I'm going to think about it as we're walking through this, but it might end up in S as well. But for now, my head is saying A. But yeah, so Big Rig, you do the protect puck, you hold A, you reach out with your free arm, and you drag it around. That's what Big Rig is going to help you with. I feel like there's a bit of a Snipe element going on where, it's like a reverse Snipe, because when I said with Snipe, there's different shooting Xfactors that help better. I feel like Big Rig, when you're holding A and you're protecting the puck in that situation, it's going to provide more benefit in that particular situation than Unstoppable Force will. But most of the time you're not using A/X to protect the puck. You're just using the right stick. So that's why Unstoppable Force is a bit better. But I'm going to give it a high B. Big Tipper, love this. Tips are back. Tips are back. They were in NHL 22 in the beginning. I remember Big Tipper, Chris Draper causing havoc on me in my Hut Champ runs. Tips are back. Not too many for me because of the strats I run on behind the net. There's not usually a lot of players in the slot, but I'm able to get a lot of tips when I notice, when I switch sides, when I go D to D, and the players are transitioning over to the other side. As they're transitioning through the middle of the ice, I can send it low. A tip will be placed, and it's usually going off the post and in. A big thing about Big Tipper is that it doesn't matter what angle the player's facing. They won't tip it realistically, right? Like, if you're holding on your forehand, it's not going to go up and, to the left, like top glove. You can get a weird animation where you're reaching all the way back, like all the way back on your backhand, and it pulls it back the other way top shelf, especially with Big Tipper. And again, it's always going off the post and in. The deflections are very precise, so that's why it's going to get an A. And if you're using a crash the net strategy where it's all tips, it's probably an S tier. But for the meta is currently structured, it's getting an A. Next is Close Quarters, and Close Quarters is an S tier ability. It is probably a top 3 ability in the game. It activates below the dots, right? So below the dots, within the dots. It gives you about a 15 feet from the goal line, and within about, I want to say it's about 40 feet, about maybe 40, 50 feet between the dots. It gives you a lot of space to rip a shot, and the thing about Close Quarters is it's one of the abilities that you can actually quantify. When you're using Close Quarters and you watch an instant replay, you can sometimes see the puck being lifted on the stick before it gets released off, like from the shot, and it can be used to raise the puck over the goalie's pad and then shoot it straight into the net. It's unrealistic, to be honest, but it still works. We're talking about meta. We don't care about realism. We care about getting results, and Close Quarters is going to get you the most results. Lots of the goals that you see scored are scored within a rather short distance to the net, so Close Quarters are going to be very effective for you. The big issue with Close Quarters is it costs 8 AP, and in a landscape where we only have 40 AP, you can only activate this ability on 5 players. So it's rough, but it's effective. I have it activated on Owen Nolan. I know a lot of people have it activated on that team builder Keith Tkachuk. It's such a good ability. It's definitely getting an S tier. This one is Bouncer. I was using this a lot last year. I believe 90 overall Ulf Samuelsson had Bouncer. It works, but I just feel like it's gonna go above its tricky, because its tricky is so situational, but it's just not, it's really not all that it basically increases stick tension in net front battles. So for example, if 2 players are fighting for a loose puck, you're more likely to get the puck. It's basically no contest. And again, like, the no contest has that Snipe thing going on where, in all situations, no contest is going to work. But in this one specific situation where it's net front battles, Bouncer is going to work better than no contest in that one specific area. And that's going to happen in front of your net. So, unlike Snipe, I actually think no contest is better than the one that's very specific. Unlike Snipe, where I think the ones that are more specific, like Close Quarters, Heat Seeker, Make It Snappy, are actually going to be more valuable. So for me, Bouncer's going to go C, and then soon you will see where I have no contest ranked, because I am actually a big proponent of activating no contest. Next is Crease Crasher. This is coming from the Rebound King. I love shooting for rebounds. Rebounds are a great way to score. Some people will call it trashy. I mean, in my book, when I'm trying to win a game, I'm trying to win a game. I don't care if I score from 200 feet away. I'm just trying to score. Crease Crasher, very specific use, which is, again, it gives you increased shot accuracy and puck control from shots and pucks corralled from rebounds. So it's not like, oh, it's increased puck control and shot accuracy around the net. No, it's just off rebounds. So it's very specific. I am going to put it in B category. I'm going to put it behind in reverse. I'm going to put it in front of Sniped. Sniped actually might eventually get moved down to C, if I'm being honest. And I think as I'm talking, I'm going to move It's Tricky down to D, because as I've been talking about these abilities, I've noticed that It's Tricky is too specific, but I don't think it doesn't fit the meta, if that makes sense. So I'm going to move It's Tricky down to D. But talking about Crease Crasher again, I actually think in how the game currently is, with how interceptions have been buffed to a certain degree, at least, you know, when you're in position and stuff, a lot of passes just aren't there this year, or at least not all the time. So sending in a low shot for a rebound can work. Crease Crasher is one where I wouldn't activate the gold ability. If you have points, activate the silver ability. I think it's a very good superstar ability. It's not worth your time for the zone ability. But even then, I'm going to put it at B, because I think that how the game currently plays with how good rebounds are, being able to pop those rebounds is very essential. Getting loose pucks is also very essential, so I actually think Crease Crasher is very useful. Next is Elite Edges. This is getting an S tier. XFactor Kill Makar. That's really all I have to say is XFactor Kill Makar. I could sit here for 20 minutes explaining to you guys how much I love Xfactor Kill Makar. It seems like the ability was tailor-made for Kill Makar, which is probably why it works so well. You'll notice for some of these abilities, you might be asking yourself, like, when we talk about Wheels, it's not on the list, but I'll edit it in. You'll be like, oh, Wheels doesn't really work on Braden Point that well, or Dylan Larkin that well, but it works really well for McDavid. Well, it really feels like some of these abilities were tailor-made for specific players. And when I use Elite Edges, on Kill Makar at least, it is fantastic. And when I use it on other players, my ESHL player, for example, it is still fantastic. Nothing is better than being able to change directions on a dime while maintaining your top speed. You know, players want to spam pokes, players want to spam hits. In hockey, it's such a fast-paced sport. Your reaction time needs to be like this. You need to be able to snap and make a decision. And Elite Edges is so good that it gives you even a little time after you probably should have made a decision to make a decision. You can have late reaction timing, and if you're able to flick that left stick hard enough, you're cutting to the left or the right, and you're getting around a defender, and it's setting up 2-on-1s. You can straight line with defensemen from behind your own net, use Elite Edges. Don't even touch the right stick once until you go to shoot, and you can get through a whole team of even top players and just bury a beautiful goal. So Elite Edges is definitely going to get S tier. I'm actually going to put it ahead of Close Quarters because I feel like it's an ability that's essential for some defensemen. I feel like every team needs at least one player with gold Elite Edges, whether it's just to break out a puck or, you know, set up a nice play. Elite Edges works everywhere. It's a passive ability. If you have the puck, it's active. So it's just beautiful. It's so good. Next is Magnetic. This one is going in D. And the reason why it's going in D and not Y is because I understand the point. You know, if there's a rolling puck or whatever, you don't see a lot in this game. But if there's a rolling puck or, you know, a pass that gets deflected, Magnetic is going to allow you to transition the puck to your forehand and shoot it better. You know, and more quickly without receiving an accuracy debuff. But last year really, like, the community hates Magnetic because last year it was essential in EASHL, and at the very beginning of HUT, it really felt like we were all sitting there like, are we going to have to use Magnetic on every player all year in order to pick up a puck? We didn't, because puck control and offensive awareness went through the roof in progression, in rating progression. But man, that Magnetic left such a sour taste in everyone's mouth that it's gonna go behind It's Tricky. Again, there is a meta for it. Whether or not it fits it is up to you. But yeah, it's gonna be D. Next is Make It Snappy. This is gonna be an A tier ability, and you know, you might be asking yourself, like, why? Like, who takes flick ups? That's what a lot of people call snapshots, or just flick ups. You know, who does that? Well, when you're executing a cut play, especially this year with how the goalies are sliding. That extra half second or quarter second you're using to transfer that picked up puck, or that pass that you just received, flicking your right stick to the right or left to move it to your forehand and then flicking it up. The goalie could have already slid over and made a fantastic glove save. So when you have Make It Snappy, the puck's on your stick, off your stick, and that's ideally how you should use it. The puck should be on your stick, off your stick, pass, receive, shot right away. Or sometimes you're in a situation where you can't hold down your forehand or backhand because the lane to the net is so tight that you just need to be able to squeeze through. Well, you squeeze through and you just, okay, I have half a second to cut and then shoot. Make It Snappy is going to work. Oh, I got the puck just bounced to me and the goalie's kind of out of position. Make It Snappy is going to help. There's a trick for Make It Snappy where you can hold it on your forehand like a wrist shot, release the right stick for like a quarter second, and then flick up like a snapshot. You'll get actually increased accuracy on your shot if you do it without Make It Snappy, but with Make It Snappy, it makes it even better. So for me, I don't think it's as good as close quarters. I think it's better than Heat Seeker, which we're about to talk about. But it's not as good as close quarters, but it's a lot better than Snipe in my opinion. I believe it costs 6 AP to activate, which makes it 2 more than Snipe. I believe Snipe is 4 and close quarters is 8. So the progression there makes sense. EA's kind of understood the meta more for the abilities, and it shows here with the cost for Snipe, Make It Snappy, and close quarters. Next, we're going to go Heat Seeker. I think it's better than Crease Crasher and Snipe, but I don't think it's great. I really don't think it touches Make It Snappy, and I don't think it touches close quarters. And let me explain why. Heat Seeker is increased snapshot, and I think the actual word is exceptional. Exceptional power and accuracy for wrist/snapshots from a distance. So the blue line, above the dots, above and outside the dots. So you can actually activate it from the half boards. If you're on the goal line, but you're further back than the dots, it may activate for you. So it's useful. And the goalies, they don't react well to East Coast, West Coast movement unless it's one smooth movement. So, if it's one pass to a cross crease, the goalies are going to be able to get there easily. But if you're going left, right, left, and then shooting back to the left, where you're making the goalie move, back and forth, they're not good at that. So if you have a defenseman and you go D to D, take a step inwards, and then shoot it back the other way, then Heat Seeker will work. And you can get some really good deflections off of Heat Seeker shots. But again, I think it's too niche, and goalies are too good. CPU goalies are too good at stopping Heat Seeker shots. So for me, it's gonna get a B. Next is No Contest, and No Contest is going into the B category. It's gonna go above Big Rig. I use Back At Ya more than I use probably any of these abilities ahead of it, except close quarters and elite edges. But if we were to set up an alignment chart where it was like cost, like what is the best bang for your buck? What are you gonna get value out of for the lowest AP? It's probably No Contest. It costs 2 AP to activate the gold. And what it does is it helps you in puck battles. Those situations where it's you and an opponent trying to get a loose puck. You're gonna have increased stick tension. You're gonna be able to win a lot more puck battles. For 2 AP, a puck battle can mean the difference between a goal against and a goal scored. If there's a battle right behind your net and you need that puck, or the guy's gonna grab and do a wraparound, you get it. You send it up the ice. You set up a 2-on-1. And it's in the back of the net. You've gone from a situation where you can get scored on and go down, or you open the scoring with the 2-on-1. Maybe you shoot a rebound or go for a cross crease, who knows, but you've saved a goal because of No Contest. I really suggest, especially later in the year when we get near GWC time, if there's a good like Victor Hedman or Cale Makar with No Contest Silver even, which costs 1 AP. This is one of the 1 AP abilities. It's the best 1 AP ability in the game. Activate it. If you have the space, activate it. If you have 3 points left and you have to choose between 1 silver ankle breaker or 3 silver No Contest, go with the 3 no contests. Next up, we have Off the Rush. Now, Off the Rush is a weird ability. I believe 99 Ray, trade deadline Ray Bork had it last year, or might have been a 97. MSP, Colorado Avalanche Ray Bork had it last year. It's weird because I also play offline game modes, and I feel like it's a great ability offline, but if you try and use it online, it's the worst ability known to mankind. Hillary Knight has this ability. I haven't seen anyone activate on Hillary Knight, and to be quite honest, I've only used the ability once or twice in NHL 23, and it was offline. So, my opinion, I don't really have much of an opinion, but if I was going to base this off NHL 22, I feel like this could be a great way to score goal line slap shots from whatever distance, because it works from any distance. You just have to be skating while taking a slap shot. This is going to be an ability I'm going to attempt to try more in 23. I want to see if I can create more offense by having a defender with it, walking and taking slap shots, and seeing if that spreads out, other players' skill zone tendencies. Because that's what you should be trying to be doing with abilities, with offensive abilities on defensemen. You should be using it to draw out defenders and try and break the skill zone. So it's an ability I'm going to try and use, and because I actually have hope for it, I'm going to put it at C, but I'm going to put it below the other abilities because I haven't used it enough. But just understanding the ability, I think it could have some use. It won't be a meta ability at all. It just doesn't fit most people's play styles, but it's going to be an ability I try, and I'm going to try and put it to good use. So just because I see the potential in it, I'm going to put it in C. Next is 1T. If this was NHL 22, this would be an A tier ability. D to Ds, right? I haven't been able to use gold 1T on a defenseman yet this year. D to Ds without it seem more powerful but less accurate. Not less accurate as in they'll miss the net a bunch like they have in previous years, where they'll always miss far side. But it seems like you shoot it right into the goalie's chest or like within that area, so you can set it up for a lot of deflection opportunities or maybe even rebounds. But when you think of actual one-timers, you're thinking of people like Ovi or Stamkos or Kucherov, so you're thinking of forwards. And the issue with 1T is that the goalie slides so much and makes such fantastic saves that it's not worth spending either 6 or 8 AP on 1T. And for that reason, as the current meta hockey ultimate team in NHL 23, because of how the goalies are, I'm putting it at high D. Like, you can't, it's hard to score one time. Like, if you're scoring a one-timer, it's usually actually just a cross-crease wrist shot. There's not a lot of times where you're winding up for massive slap shots off one-timers and scoring. You have that little overload play where it's the guy on the far side with the 1T. But even if you have gold 1T, it seems like that shot's going right into the goalie's glove. Or there's some of the paddle. I believe Kesso, Paguni, and No Sleeps were talking about 1T, and they showed like a screenshot of Kesso doing a knee down slap shot with Stamkos, and the goalie just makes an unbelievable save. The goalies are too good post to post. That's why cut plays are so good, because you force the goalie to cut to the post and then back to the post they came from. That's why those work. It's not because it's a cross crease. It's because it involves many directions of movement. 1T requires you to just get the puck and shoot it right away, and if it's a one pass to a shot with gold 1T, I just don't see how viable it is, especially for the cost. Again, 6 or 8 AP, I can't remember the exact number, I think it's 8. It's just not, it's not worth it in the current meta. I could see it definitely, again, if this was NHL 22, this would be a high A ability because of its D to D potential, but just at the moment, it just doesn't make sense. Puck on a String is a worse version of Ankle Breaker. Basically, it allows you to do all of like the fancy one-touch deeks, and it also allows you to be more efficient and effective in your slow dekes. So for example, if you come down to basically, well, you can do it while you're stopped, but basically a snail's pace, and you go for like an L1 deke or a one-touch deke, so just tapping L1/LB, or doing a windmill or doing a toe drag, you'll see the animations for those when you're very, very slow / at a standstill are different than the ones that you'll get when you're going at full speed. It'll help with the slow versions of those dekes, but at most people's gameplay, unless it's, players do use slow dekes. I use slow dekes, but I don't do it enough to warrant spending 6 AP on it, especially on a winger, because it's usually wingers with the ability. And when you're doing those dekes, you're very susceptible to being poked and hit, and when someone sees that you have this ability, people are just gonna assume that you're gonna be going for dekes and stuff. I see the use, it's not as good as Ankle Breaker in my opinion. Sometimes keeping it simple works better, and I think Ankle Breaker proves that. I'm gonna put Puck on a String. I already know enough about it. I'm gonna put it below Off the Rush, because, and I'm actually gonna move Off the Rush above Bouncer, because again, I think No Contest is better than Bouncer. But again, I've seen this, and I think it's Ankle Breaker's little brother. So for me, Ankle Breaker over Puck on a String any day of the week. Next is Quick Pick. They've buffed interceptions this year. So for interceptions, if you're in a perfect position, and there's little nuances that can prevent you from picking up a puck. So if it looks like, if your player's for some reason not facing the puck, I know that sounds stupid, but if they're not facing the puck, the game won't let you intercept it. If your stick or your skate goes through another player's stick or skates, either or, right? You won't be eligible to pick up the puck for a certain period of time. So if it seems like passes are going right through your guys, it's probably because your stick has gone through other players' skates / sticks / legs. That's why there's a slider in the game called incidental contact, and there's another one where it's like a toggle option. There's one called incidental contact, stick, legs, and skates. That is what's active in the competitive version. So because that incidental contact is on for those things, you won't be able to intercept the puck if your stick has gone through any of the objects I've just stated. But in a perfect position, interceptions work. They work great. They can still pass the puck behind you, so they're not a brick wall. Although I've seen a couple cases where people are doing one-handed interceptions, and I hate those. But because of how perfect interceptions are, I really feel like Quick Pick isn't needed. Now, on the flip side of the coin, you could say, well, interceptions are already so good, I can use Gold Quick Pick, and then I can intercept the pucks that I shouldn't even be able to intercept. No, that's not how it works. If anything, you'll just get more interceptions from pucks that are behind you or slightly ahead of you where other players wouldn't reach. You're still not going to be able to intercept the pucks cleanly where incidental contact may have caused you to miss it. That won't happen. I do think it could be useful. It costs a lot. I'm going to put it ahead of Back At Ya. I'm going to put it at high C. It's probably the fourth best defensive ability you can activate, and I don't think we've touched on any of the other ones. No, we haven't. So the defensive abilities are only going to get better, but C, high C for Quick Pick. Seeing Eye, it kind of goes in that Heat Seeker category, but it's a bit worse because it only works on screens. I don't understand why it increases your shot power with the screen. I've watched so much Canuck hockey over the last few years that it makes me feel like this ability was like made for like Alex Edler or Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Like those guys who just take these weird wrist shots off their back foot from the point. Again, they're called Seeing Eye shots, but not a lot of people are running high crash strats, and people don't really want to spend an ability or points on an ability where most of the time your shots from the point, especially when you're looking to score from the point, which is completely different than you recognizing, hey, I'm going to shoot for a tip, because you're usually shooting low. But if you're trying to shoot to score from the point, you're aiming high. And most of the time, because, players' torsos and arms are bigger than their legs, those shots are going to get blocked, even with Seeing Eye. So I'm going to put Seeing Eye in D category. Kesso Paguni, who again I've mentioned twice now, good friend of mine in the NHL community. He makes great videos. Check out his channel. If I remember, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description of the video, but it should be just Kesso Paguni on YouTube. You can just search it. He did a video where he paired silver Seeing Eye and silver 1T together, or gold 1T, whatever combination it was, with Victor Hedman. And it worked well on D2Ds, but again, D2Ds, there's no pinpoint accuracy on D2Ds anymore. So maybe if you pair these two abilities up together, it creates a super ability that's A tier. Again, you'd be wasting so many points on the AP that it might not be worth it. So for now, I'm gonna put Seeing Eye below 1T. Again, I think 1T has the chance to go up, but Seeing Eye, I think it'll until proven otherwise, it'll hover in the high D, low C category. Next is Send It. We're going to talk about tape to tape soon, but this is basically tape to tape, but long distance tape to tape. Like, it only activates for long distances. And again, this is the Snipe component again, where this is a very specific X factor. It works in specific situations that are hard to activate. And yes, Send It, when it activates, is probably better at long passes than tape to tape when it activates on long passes, because again, this is meant to be very, very specific, and if it didn't work better, it wouldn't make sense for it to even be created, because people would just use tape to tape. It costs less, to be fair, but tape to tape's just better, and I don't really see a purpose for it. Most people are using saucer passes anyway, so there's on the breakout off the board, so there's not a lot of use for it. You should be using the right stick when you're making a pass. Holding on your forehand or backhand is going to get you more power and accuracy on your pass anyway. If you're someone who just hits right trigger and doesn't use the right stick to pass, then I could see why this would be useful because of the auto sauce and stuff. But for most people, it's not. People aren't using this unless they have literally no other ability they can put their points into and they have extra points. So I'm actually going to put it below It's Tricky, because It's Tricky at least only costs 1 for the silver. But yeah, it's too, it has too much, it's too specific of an ability. Shutdown, A category. It's going ahead of, it's actually going to be the best A ability as we stand right now. Increased poke checking or stick checking and hitting in rush situations. I want to say it says 1v1, but the game has a hard time differentiating what's a 1v1 situation and what is just like a 2v2 situation. If the game just recognizes, hey, it's one defender attacking one forward off the rush, the game assumes it's a one-on-one situation, so it's going to activate more times than not off the rush. And the pokes are going to hit nice. People are going to try and LT spin off you in the higher divisions. You're going to have increased hitting assistance and stability, so you're going to be able to knock people over. Your stick lifts, stick lifting it seems like an auto penalty. I've gotten better at it personally, and I expect a patch to probably decrease the amount of stick lifting penalties and increase the poke checking penalties, but we'll get into that in another video. But shutdown, it just, for the cost, it's not going to help you with pokes as much as stick 'em up. It's not going to help you with hitting as much as truculence, but it's the one all-encompassing ability, just like how Snipe is an all-encompassing shooting ability, which covers some portions of close quarters, make it snappy, heat seeker, etc. Shutdown is the premier ability because it encompasses everything on defense, and this is what I'm kind of noticing. On offense, you want the abilities that are very specific. On defense, you want the abilities that are all-encompassing, that cover many different types of defense, because, it might not seem this way, but sometimes, especially at higher level gameplay, for people who play with defense in mind, or defense is their strategy, it can sometimes feel like there's not enough defensive tools, or they've been nerfed at least to the point where some players can just score at will. And for against some guys, that's just true. You'll just let in a lot of goals, but shutdown is probably the best all-encompassing ability in the game. It's fantastic, honestly. Like, I have no complaints about shutdown. It's gonna go high A category for me. Next is Stick 'em Up. Stick 'em Up gets an S tier. And there's one reason for that. It's because I don't think I've ever taken a tripping penalty while spamming stick 'em up. Last year there was a Victor Hedman stick 'em up. There was a Quinn Hughes Team of the Year with gold stick 'em up. I could just spam, poke, never get a tripping penalty. The stick could be between the legs. I could be slashing at your, with the wiggle stick. They used to have the wiggle stick. When you hold R1, you flick the stick, your right stick back and forth. Just, you can get a tripping penalty. And the auto aim on the pokes, you think it's bad now? Oh man, stick 'em up with gold. Stick 'em up. You're spamming pokes. You're knocking them off every time. When the puck gets knocked off the opponent's stick, the puck really gets knocked off the opponent's stick. I've been able to hit pokes where I'm reaching behind me and pulling the puck back. Like, it is overpowered. It is definitely an S tier ability. Tape to tape. I thought tape to tape was gonna, it would have been a D tier ability this year because they've increased the passing power and assistance, and they've also, with blind passes, they've increased the assistance and power of those passes a little bit too. So if you do a blind pass, you're not, it's not a hope and a prayer anymore. It's a calculated hope and a prayer. But I was using it on Jonathan Huberdeau, and I was using it on Xfactor Fox. I don't have Xfactor Fox anymore. I was using them offline. I tried them for a little bit. It feels like you don't have to. It feels like the game knows when you have gold tape to tape this year. It knows exactly how hard and where you want to pass the puck, if that makes sense. If I am trying to pass the puck, if I'm at the left half wall and I'm trying to rim the puck around the boards to the guy on the right half wall, I don't have to hold right trigger all that much to get it to just fling around the net to the other player. Also, players receive pucks really well when you have gold tape to tape on. Another trick, you can hold right trigger, shoot low pad, and score on a rebound. If you're holding right trigger when you shoot it off the pad for the rebound, it'll activate tape to tape there, and it'll give you increased puck control on the pickup from the rebound. So if a player comes in to pick up the puck off the rebound shot where you've held RT with tape to tape, you'll be able to pick it up better, even if the puck's rolling. So it is useful. I'm gonna put it in B. I feel like it's a little too expensive. If it was cheaper, I would definitely give it a low A. But I think I'm gonna put it behind in reverse. I just think it's not bad. It's not great. It's good. It's fine. It has its uses. Next is Third Eye, which is I'm gonna put it right behind tape to tape because again, this is a more encompassing, or this is a more all-encompassing ability. This one's more specific, but the issue with this is that they've already increased the assist with blind passes, so this ability's has fallen by the wayside. But I do notice some uses for it, especially around, like if you're close to the net, if you want to hit a goal line cut play with someone from behind the net. Doesn't matter what way you're facing, the pass distance is short, but the angle that you're passing the puck is just so weird that it'll fake out the goalie. Third Eye will help you with that. If you find yourself stuck in a lot of situations where you have to make blind passes, I would suggest rethinking your offensive strategy. But if you somehow find a way to turn blind passes into a play that works, I mean, Third Eye could work for you. I just don't see it enough. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm actually going to put it at C, with the highest C category. Or no, it's going to be behind Quick Pick. So I think it's useful. It has its uses. I'm going to try it out more this year. And I'm probably going to update this after Christmas. But as of now, I think it's hovering around B. But I'm going to have to put it in C. It's just average. It's an average ability. Thunderclap, D. Not a lot of people are taking slap shots from the point. Not a lot of goalies are letting in slap shots from the point. I understand that Thunderclap is great for slap shots, right? Like, you walk in, you take a slap shot from anywhere. Oh wait, no, you can't take a slap shot from anywhere because it only works from a distance. It's why use Thunderclap when you can use Off the Rush. I know Off the Rush costs a little bit more, but it's an all-encompassing slap shot ability, which is better than this ability, which is specific. But again, you're shooting pucks from 80 feet out from the blue line or 60 feet out. Players are blocking these shots. Goalies are saving these shots. It's not worth it for the cost. And it doesn't even work on D to D one-timers. So even if you're taking a one-timer, which is a slap shot, It is a slap shot. Don't argue with me. A one-timer is a slap shot. When you fully wind back, it doesn't even activate, so what's the point? That's just what I'm saying. What's the point? Total Eclipse, fun. It's fun, not the greatest, and it fits the meta, so I can't put it in here. But I'm going to put it in C, and I'm going to put it behind Off the Rush, but in front of Bouncer, because again, the deflection game is back in NHL 23. Players are deflecting pucks. I haven't noticed a lot of goals being scored off screens, although maybe I'm not looking at the goals I score properly, where I'm thinking, oh, the goalie got confused because of a cut play. It might be because there was a screen during the cut play, and I'm not noticing the effects of screens. But I'm going to use this more, and with increased deflections, I want to see if Total Eclipse actually prevents goalies from being able to track pucks. And I know this can be countered with X-Ray on a goalie, but there's no goalies in the game currently with X-Ray. We'll probably see an MSP goalie soon, probably within the next month that has X-Ray. I know that Mikko Koskinen had X-Ray last year, and he was gross. But I want to see how this works, especially in combination with Big Tipper. I think it can be a really lethal combo, and it's very cheap to use. I believe it's 2 AP for the gold. This is definitely an ability you can just slap on if you're running a Crash the Net strategy set or an Overload, because Overload there's also some screens. You can just run it if you have extra AP lying around, especially the gold one, because I think this is one where the gold is a lot better than the silver. Some abilities you'll find that the silver is useless and the gold is the only thing that works. But yeah, I'm definitely going to use this more, and I think there's potential for it, so it's going to get a C for me. That's kind of where the C category is, where it's like, these two are the only ones where I'm just like, yeah, it's a C, but all the other ones in C, Total Eclipse, Off the Rush, Third Eye, Back at Ya is a current work in progress because I have players with it, and Quick Pick, it's all like, I want it, yeah, all those, the top 5 abilities in C are just me being like, I want to see more out of it, but I see the potential. Next is Truculence. Truculence gets an S. Like come on. Increased hitting stability and assistance when throwing shoulder checks. You can be there's a reason why I advocate for people to pick up, if you can, pick up that MSP Megan Keller. 5'11", 165-pound woman defenseman. Yes, again, woman. I know a lot of people don't like to use the women players because they're not meta players, they're a bit too small. But she's taller than a Quinn Hughes, she's only about 10 pounds less, and she has gold truculence. When it comes to hitting people off the puck, if they're 6'3" or smaller, if there are a light, like low pounds but 6'3", or just any 6'2" player, gold truculence is going to work on Megan Keller. If you are taller than Megan Keller, if you're like 6'2" and you're running gold truculence, you're going to be able to knock anyone off the puck, and you're going to be able to knock them off the puck clean, which is it's essential. You don't want players, especially now with Relentless, only getting bumped and then them being able to get a chance off. No, you want to knock them clean to the ice, pick up the puck, and start your breakout, or create a chance off the forecheck. Because not only is it going to be those long 20-foot charges that are going to look powerful, you'll be able to take one stride into a hit and just destroy someone and knock them loose of the puck. So Truculence is fantastic. In 3v3 gameplay where there's no physical penalties for like charging and boarding and stuff, this would be top ability, to be honest. If not, it would be ahead of Stick 'em Up. But it's a broken ability. It's great. It's great for knocking players off the puck. When GWC time comes around, unless something's been patched, I'm probably going to look for defensemen with at least silver truculence. I might, in my top 4 defensemen, all 4 might have silver truculence. Maybe 1 has gold and 3 have silver. I think it's going to be it's going to be very important, because those who know how to LT spin really well, left trigger spin, or L2, but depending on console, they can spin really fast, and they can slip off body checks, and with truculence, you're going to be able to knock players to the ice. So I think it's great. It doesn't even matter how much it costs. It costs 6 AP or 3 for the silver. But it's worth it. It's worth every point. Next is Yoink. Yoink, I understand it. I'm going to put it in C in front of Bouncer. Last year would have been a D because stick lifts were automatic if you were in position. But, man, this year it just feels like they are an auto penalty, which means I need to test this more, quite honestly, because if Yoink can prevent the stick lifting penalties, then this has automatically become a low A, high B ability, because I think perfectly timed stick lifts can at times can be the most effective defense play in the game, specifically because players are stuck in, when they get their stick lifted, they're stuck in this position for like 2 seconds, and you can go down the ice and score on a 2-on-1 or stuff. You can be very nifty and very like tricky with the stick lift. So if Yoink can help with that, then it'll be a great ability. But for now, it's just gonna get a C. I haven't seen enough of it to feel like it's gonna be great, but it definitely has the potential. Unstoppable Force, it's getting a high A. It is the best offensive ability other than Close Quarters, and if you want to count Elite Edges as an offensive ability, you can. I just consider it a skating ability because you can use it at, you know, anywhere on the ice to get separation between you and your opponents when you have the puck. But it is definitely, if it's not, I'm going to put it low S, actually. I'm going to put it low S because you can just tank hits, right? And it's going to seem stupid, like, oh, there's more S abilities than A abilities. Well, I think that's more because, like, there's just, like, these are the tippity top. You're going to see, these are the 5 abilities you're going to see most players, you know, most players in HUD are going to use. And for some ESHL, you're going to see players use these the most. If they're defensemen, they're going to use Heat Seeker and stuff because of the human goalies. But in HUD, when it's against CPU goalies and, you know, you're only, you know, there's 8 CPU skaters on it, you know, given times, and it's just 1v1, right? Unstoppable Force is going to help you tank off those bumps. The computers can't hit you, so the player has to switch to get you off the puck. And then you can just tank the hit, come out front, send a pass over, maybe send a shot over. It's going to take multiple players to knock you off this puck. It's going to have to be a well-timed poke or a Truculence hit. I do find that Truculence beats Unstoppable Force in, like, because obviously Unstoppable Force versus Truculence, which is the immovable object, or, well, I guess in this case, Truculence would be the Unstoppable Force, and Unstoppable Force would be the immovable object, but in this analogy. But Truculence will definitely, like, if someone with Truculence hits someone with Unstoppable Force, the Unstoppable Force person's going down. But other than that, I mean, Unstoppable Force is just beautiful. In tight cycling, this is probably the best offensive ability in the game, because people don't have enough time and space to gather momentum to knock you off the puck. So, man, it's a beautiful ability. I highly recommend it. And if you have a player with Big Rig, I mean, you can try it, but you'll find that Unstoppable Force is better. Next, you'll see that we have no more abilities. I'm going to go through the 9 that I have on my screen right now. Next, we're going to go Relentless. I can't pull these on for some reason. I tried for a long time to try and add my own icons to it. I just couldn't for some reason. We're going to talk about Relentless, which is a new ability that Sarah Nurse has. It's going to go in the fun, but doesn't fit the meta. I haven't seen too many goals scored via Relentless. If we're being honest, if Bobby Orr ever comes into NHL, this is the ability he's getting. It's fun. You can score goals off of the last chance movement, but I don't see people shooting it out of the last chance movement too much. In top gameplay, players are going to try and tank that bump, or just let the animation continue and then try and regather the puck rather than shoot it. You'll score with Relentless, but I guarantee you it'll usually be accidental. Like, it'll just happen, and you'll be like, oh, well, thankfully I had Relentless, but it's not something that you're consciously going for. It's almost impossible to time up the late chance movement like that. So it's going to go in the fun but doesn't fit meta. Next, we have Skilled Up. Skilled Up's going to go in low A, and the reason for that is because it makes the Michigan automatic. And you might be saying, well, if it makes it automatic, it should be an automatic goal, which means it should be S. No. The animation to get into the Michigan ability is very telling, right? You're going behind this, and you're winding up that lacrosse move. Players are going to be able to switch and poke it. But if you're playing against a skill zoner, and this is the only time where Skilled Up will be an S tier ability. If you're playing against a skill zoner, and you haven't tried the lacrosse move yet, the Michigan, if they're not expecting it, you can get a free goal out of it. And then for the rest of the game, when they're trying to prevent you from being behind the net, you can just, the way they come, you know, they chase you, you just go back the other way and you go for a wrap. So it can open up more offensive plays, but I just feel like the actual way to score with it is too easy to cover. Again, if someone doesn't expect it and it hasn't played you before and they're not chasing behind the net, you can pull it out maybe once or twice against them. And then they're going to adjust. So I'm going to give it I'm going to put in A tier. Next, we got quick draw. Quick draw is going to go in A tier as well. Possession in this game is super, super important, and quick draw is just going to help you with that. If you have a 50-50 draw, you're going to win it. Even if you have a lower face-off stat, you're going to win it with gold trick quick draw, which really puts the face-off in your hand, you know? Like, you're already in your opponent's head. If you recognize, okay, well, you know, I'm going to win any 50-50 here, right? You got to think to your head, okay, well, he knows that I win any 50-50, so he's going to think, oh, I'm going straight back because I have the ability, so I'm going to push. But then in your mind, you're going to say, well, if he's thinking that, I got a stick lift. And in his mind, he's got to think, well, if he's going to stick lift, I have to go straight back. And you go in a cycle, but because you have quick draw, you always have the advantage. You can either, you know, there's three main ways of winning a face-off. There's straight back, there's the push, and there's the stick lift, or the kickback. If you get the tie-up, you're going to win. If you get the counter to whatever they do, you're going to win. So there's only a 33% chance that they're going to win the face-off. So 2 out of 3 times, you're going to get the puck, and you're going to be able to set something up, or you're going to be able to prevent a play. Quick draw, it's an A tier ability. It actually probably goes ahead of Big Tipper, but for the editing purposes, it's gonna end up right in the right behind Make It Snappy. Next, we have Contortionist. This is the first goaltender ability on the list, and I'm only going to talk about a couple. Well, actually, I might talk about them all. I can't exactly remember. Yeah, I'm not talking about like adventure stuff. That's trash. Contortionist is going to go in fun, but doesn't fit the meta. I only notice it on cross-crease attempts, and post-to-post is better. Like, I don't notice it a lot on breakaways. If I could create another category and call it the if you post cool clips to Twitter, this is the goalie ability you want to use, because if you make a contortion save, that's being uploaded immediately to Twitter, with a funny caption, obviously. But man, it feels like it only really works on, like, you get that animation where, I'll say Vasilevsky in this point, where he like kind of falls over to the right with his stick, but he never makes the save. So I'm gonna put it in fun, but doesn't fit the meta. Next, we have All or Nothing. All or Nothing. Again, fun, doesn't fit the meta. Ask Junior Pens. Go to Twitter and say @JuniorPens91. How is Marc-Andre Fleury's GWC All or Nothing card? And he's gonna message you back, and he's gonna say, why are you messaging me publicly on Twitter? And then he's gonna ask, why are you bringing this up? This makes me sad. Because All or Nothing causes the goalie AI to be all funky. They'll go for these long All or Nothing poke checks for no reason whatsoever and give up goals. I can't ask why is this ability, because again, it's fun, but it's trash. Like, it's bad. Like, unless you're using ESHL, where you have competent defenders and everyone's a human, I don't trust the CPU goalies with All or Nothing. I trust the humans with All or Nothing. So if it's a human player, it could be a B tier ability, but in HUT, with how it currently is, people aren't really switching to their goalies all that much. Unless it's on a breakaway, but even then, with All or Nothing, your goalie will sometimes try an All or Nothing poke, even if it's not a breakaway. It could be cycling, and they'll try it, and you'll be like, why? And the puck will be in the back of your net. So it's gonna go in the, it's probably gonna go bottom D tier, actually. For HUT, it's gonna go bottom D. Sorry, it's probably the worst ability. Next is Dialed In. Let's have a talk about Dialed In, okay? This ability was the worst goalie ability in NHL 22. And I don't think there's any debate about that, other than maybe All or Nothing. But it's just people are like, I don't care. Because the original intent of, as my mic arm decides to be all weird, the original intent of Dialed Up was to be 25 saves and then boosted save reaction. Well, now it's only 15. I probably shoot about 18, 19 shots in every HUT game. So, you know, if I only score 3 goals on 19 shots, their goalie's going to be dialed in. It's too long of a setup, but if you're up against a player who's just spamming shots from the point and eventually your goalie gets dialed up, it can work, because I've seen that Xfactor dialed up Markstrom absolutely ruin my life in a couple games where I've lost count of the shot clock and all of a sudden their goalie gets dialed up and I get absolutely screwed. So for that, when that happens, it could be an 8th tier ability. But most of the time, because people aren't getting their 15th, most goalies aren't saving 15 shots in a game. But if they are, it's going to be so late that it's not going to matter for most of the game. It's going to go in D category. It's going to go behind It's Tricky, but for the editing purposes, it's just going to be on the end here. Post to post, A tier ability. Goalies move weird in this game. I found in the tech test, the HUT tech test for this, post to post goalies couldn't actually access the human sliding animations. That's been fixed, and it makes those sliding saves a lot easier and a lot less. They look a lot less tremendous because the goalie gets there so quickly that they can make a good, well-positioned save. It's definitely an A tier ability. It's probably the best. It's probably the best goalie ability, but we'll get into that. After this ability, Wheels. Wheels gets an S because, man, players usually burn players up the wing through the middle. Does not matter if they have the puck. Their agility, their speed is increased, and that's kind of a lie. What it really does is Gold Wheels takes away the 3% speed debuff that you have from carrying the puck. So if you have a 99 speed player and they have the puck without wheels, they'll actually have 96 speed. If it's silver, it takes away. I think it's 1 or 2%. It might even be 1.5%. But I don't like dealing in half percentages because I can't quantify them in the game. But if you have gold wheels and a player picks the puck, they have true 99 speed with the puck. So you can get by any defender almost with the puck, especially if you have great speed, and especially if you're using Connor McDavid. Like, that guy will blast through everyone. I used it on GWC Braden Point last year, and I didn't find that it actually was that great, despite the fact that Point had like 92 acceleration. But when you have it on a player, that is compatible with wheels or whatever, like when you feel like, oh yeah, this works, it really, really works. It's definitely S tier. And then finally, we got light work. People do not like shooting one-timers anymore or cross creases, and there's a reason for that. Reason is because the goalies slide over and make saves all the time, which makes me think, because there's no goalie with gold light work yet, that light work could be an S tier ability by the end of the year. And when I say the end of the year, I mean by December 31st. If we get a good MSP goalie with light work, it could be an S tier ability because goalies are already saving cross creases. Goalies are already saving cross creases. So if you can't score on a wrist shot, what can you score on? A backhand forehand in the middle? A deflection? Like, what can you do? It has the potential to be a fantastic ability, but because I haven't seen enough, it's gonna go in the A tier, in the high A tier. It's gonna go. In my head, it's above Big Tipper, but again, for editing purposes, it will go at the bottom. So here's the list. Again, I'll have this edited in. Relentless will go in the fun doesn't fit meta. Build up will go in A. Quick draw will go in A. Contortionist will go in fun but doesn't fit the meta. All or Nothing's gonna go D. Dialed In is gonna go C. Post to Post is gonna go A. Wheels is gonna go S, and then Light Work is gonna go A with the potential of going to S. So again, this is the tier list for NHL 23's Xfactors. Again, this was all based off of the meta of the game combined with the cost associated with them. Use every ability. See if some fit your playstyle. Like I say, Crease Crasher is a low B tier, but I'm going for rebounds a lot. Yes, but if you're solely someone who's going for rebounds and you find yourself going from 30, 20, 15, 20 times a game, yeah, Crease Crasher is gonna help. If you're going for tips a lot, yeah, it's Elite Edge is gonna help. If you're going for hits a lot, Truculence is definitely gonna be the top of your list instead of Elite Edges. Going for backhands a lot. Just think about what's set up for your strategy / playstyle. But for me and my playstyle and how the meta's gone, I believe this is the quintessential Xfactor tier list for NHL 23. So again, I would like to thank everybody for watching this video. If you really liked it, subscribe, tell your friends, share the video. I'm going to come up with a content schedule for November. I don't know exactly what videos I want to post in terms of these long form videos like the offense, defense, basics video. But we'll come up with ideas over the next day or two. Next long form video probably won't be posted until the 5th or the 6th if I had to guess. It definitely won't be posted on a Sunday, so it would probably be either the 5th or the 7th actually. But we're gonna come up with videos. We're gonna be back next week. Again, this is, in my opinion, the quintessential tier list. I just want to thank everybody for watching, and ciao.